Hello friends, we have another short story to tell you. Comparatively a thrilling short story. This is the actors in the short story, the characters in this story, that is the French influence on English and the Norman conquest, so to say. The Norman conquest and the subjection of English. Now the main actors are Ethelred the Unready. Ethelred the Unready. That is King of England. His son Edward the Confessor. Edward the Confessor. This is English. And Godwin, one of the principal advisor to Godwin, Lord Godwin or Earl Godwin, advisor to Ethelred the Unready. Sorry, Edward the Confessor. And then you have got his son Harold, Godwin's son Harold, and William Duke of Normandy. William Duke of Normandy. So these are the actors or characters in this story. It's a very short story. That is the story of the Norman conquest. North of France, northern France, there was an area. It was inhabited by Northmen, that is Scandinavians, and therefore that place was called, that district was called Normandy. So Northmen, because it was inhabited by Northmen, it was called Normandy. And Normandy, is part of France, but at the same time occupied by Normans. And these Normans, what happened, they were very clever people. They gave up their language, started speaking French, and also French civilization, French ways of life, French culture. They accepted Christianity and they built huge cathedrals. Even now they are architectural marvels, they say. So French civilization, and they had a powerful army, they had a very good legal system, and we can say they became the most advanced people, progressive people in Europe. That is about the story of Normandy. Now in England, in 1066, Ethelred the Unready married a Norman wife. That is the Norman wife, Duke of Normandy's sister, and Ethelred the Unready, they married. So there is a relationship. Now during the Scandinavian invasions on England, the Ethelred the Unready was driven out. So driven out of England. So what happened is that he took refuge in his brother-in-law's court in Normandy. He lived there for some time. Then his son also, that is Edward the Confessor was his son. And when the Scandinavians left and they became weak, he came back to England and restored the English monarchy. Simple, no? English monarchy. And he died. He had no children. He was childless. And during this period, the Duke of, in Normandy, a powerful person, at the age of 6, imagine, the age of 6, he became Duke of Normandy, and he was helped by regents. There are many problems he had to face. Conspirators were there. There were people surrounding him were his enemies. But with the help of these regents and his other helpers and supporters, he managed to suppress all these revolts against him. Himself was the son of an illegitimate son. See, his mother was a Tannish daughter, and we don't know much about his father. This illegitimate person, he became the Duke of Normandy later. He was a powerful person. So Duke of Normandy, that is William Duke of Normandy, or William the Conqueror, that is how he is known in history. Now himself and Edward the Confessor, they were second cousins. Well, Edward the Confessor's second cousin was William Duke of Normandy. He had another second cousin, that is King of Norway. That Norway is Northman. Now before his death, Edward had promised William Duke of Normandy, that after my death you can become the King of England. So he was dreaming like that. Now I am only Duke. Now after some death, he was waiting for the death of. This is not a historical. And he dreamt of becoming the King of England. And in England, what happened? Edward the Confessor was a weak king. So he had a very powerful advisor. Actually, practically, he was doing all the work. His name was Godwin. When Godwin died, his position was taken by Harold. He was also powerful. At the death of Edward the Confessor, he became king. He declared that I am king. And then all the people supported him. So here comes the question. Edward the Confessor, William Duke of Normandy was his second cousin, and also he had promised him that this by word. They has promised him that you will see after my death, automatically you will become the King of England. So when he has a powerful person, a powerful army, when he heard of this, he challenged this. What happened is that September 1066, he landed the southern part of England, crossing the English Channel. Understand? Between that you have English Channel. And he challenged him. At that time, Harold was fighting with the Norwegians. And the moment he heard that William has landed here, he turned his attention to William. They came and landed, and they stationed themselves on a hill, a broad hill. So let's say something like this, the hill is on. And the name of that place is Senlac. Senlac near Hastings. Hastings. So here this is the valley. Here you have got William and his army. Here you have got Harold and his army. So who is in the advantageous position? Person who is stationed on the hill. So the fighting began. The battle began. Towards the evening also, William found that it's very difficult to play. Because they are an advantageous position. So William played a trick. He told his army, come on, let us retreat. Means feigning a retreat. Not a retreat as it, just pretending to run away. So when they ran away, Harold and his army went out to chase them. When they also came down to the valley, they are in equal position. So he unleashed all his power, his cruelty and power and whatever he had. And Harold was killed in the battle. Harold's eye was pierced, so to say. His eye was pierced. And then he died. The leaderless army, Harold's army went helter-skelter. They without leader, they became leaderless army, became a rudderless army, so to say. And they ran to different places. They chased them, and most of them they murdered, they killed. Some of them they took as captives. And on Christmas Day, 1066, September he landed. On Christmas Day, 1066, he was crowned King of England. Look at that. So this is the story of, briefly the story of the conquest of England by William, Duke of Normandy. Now it had profound consequences, we must understand that. So the French, they were speaking French language. Actually these Normans, now they had become French. You remember I told you in the beginning, French civilization, French language, French architecture, French culture, French ways of education, everything French. So he took with them all the Frenchmen. Before this, before the battle began, the actual war began, he had made peace with all the neighboring countries, plus he got the blessings of the Pope. So he was in a very strong position, and he was a ruthless king also. And don't think that when the southern part of England became under his power, and he was crowned king, all the English people accepted him. No. Instead that they rose up in revolt in many parts. But he plundered and pillaged and murdered a large number of people. Finally, he became the unquestionable ruler of England. And there begins a turning point in the history of the English language. This is the turning point. Why? Because Frenchmen flooded England. See, what French people, French clergy, French nobility, noble people, French traders, French farmers, and then forced marriages. It was very common to see a French father and English mother, an English father and a no, that was not possible. That is not possible, isn't it? So French father and English mother, that is possible. So like that, there was a fusion between the two races. And the fusion between two races, the important point here is what happened to English language. For 200 years, so to say, English language was under, this is the word used, the subjection of English. Because English, the language of a conquered people, and French, the language of a conquering people. See that? Naturally what will happen is, the conquering peoples, see, language will get the prominence, So that's what happened in England. So there was fusion of the two races. This fusion of the, in certain cases it was so intimate, so fusion of soul. So what happened is, the upper class people, they started speaking French. They started using French. Official language French. And the common people, they have another way out, no? But to use English. At the same time, we must understand that some of these Frenchmen, they started learning English. That's a very interesting thing. No? So the Frenchmen, they evinced the interest in learning this language. And there was a federation of even monasteries. Those people who owned land in England, they had land in France. Those people who had land in France, they had land in estates and land in. And the Frenchmen, even they had their burial place in England, some of them. So you can see that in history, there was a very intimate relationship existed between, or there was a total fusion of these two groups of people. So and therefore it is said that there was English, who was the Englishman, who was the Frenchman, we could not even recognize certain places because England had become bilingual. Although the language of the upper class people and the communication, the language of communication for the upper class people, that was French, and the so-called masses, that was English. So England once again became a bilingual state. As far as the story of the French, the Norman conquest of England by William Duke of Normandy in 1066 in September, and his becoming king, on Christmas Day 1066. Its effect is this: the fusion of two cultures, fusion of two civilizations, fusion of two ways of life, marriages, intermarriages, and also flooding of England with the Frenchmen. Because after all, you can see now he is a stranger, he is a foreigner. William Duke of Normandy is a foreigner. So he wanted help, he wanted support. But where did he get the support? From his own man. And he had already promised that if you help me, if you support me, I will give you whatever you want. This is what he did. Understand? It's a kind of advanced bribing, inverted commas. We don't say bribing, it's a kind of, say, generosity of the king. So this is what happened. As a result of that, the linguistic situation is bilingual, and also the Norman conquest and its immediate effect, the subjection of English for about 2 centuries. Suppose the situation had you remember no, in Chaucer's prologue, speaking about the priors, it was a mark of respect to speak English. French. It was a mark of a social rank. All those people who were of the higher social rank, they started speaking English, French, at least imitating that. So that is why Chaucer says about the prioress, there he says, no, these lines describing her, the prioress, she spake French faire and fatishly upon the scholar of Stratford and Beauvais, for the French of Paris was to hear and know it. So she spoke duplicate French, not the original French. Original French is taught in Paris. That she did not know. And Norway, she did not know. So she spoke means she spoke. She spoke French fair and fatishly, means with the fashionable. Just as we say about ash-push English, no, like that. Ash-push. You can't understand anything. So she spoke who prioress. The prioress spoke French fair and fatishly. How? What French? The duplicate French that is taught upon the scholar of Stratford and Beauvais. So that is taught in England. The French that is taught in England as a second language. Why? Because French of Paris was to hear it and know it. So she did not know the French, the original French, so to say, accent and so on, of the Paris, French that is spoken in Paris. Standard French she did not know. So she tried to imitate the French people by speaking a duplicate French that was taught in the scholar at Beauvais, Stratford and Beauvais. The school, Stratford and Beauvais. So just as for example, we say, if we say like this, I don't know the English of London, but I know the English of Madras University. English as taught. In fact, I had my education in Indo. That is Christian, Indo-Christian college. So I can say like that, since I don't know how to speak English, London English properly, I speak English that is taught in Indo-Christian college, Indo. Like that, you can say. Whether my English, Indo-Christian college, Indo is better or worse, or the London English is better or worse, all those things are things to be considered, and but I must say, I leave it to you people, see. Now whatever is of course when we say English is my second language, so I don't expect or I don't claim that I am speaking English like the London people, understand? So, okay, Queen's English, so this. I am not speaking Queen's English at all, I am speaking my own language, that is of my influenced by my mother tongue and so on. So, okay, forget about all the story. What I am trying to tell you is that in England, that is those days, English, so the importance of French was so in social ranking, it was so important that if you want to be if you want to shine in inverted commas, as people say now, you have to speak French. And since the prioress did not know the Parisian French, she started speaking in that company. She wanted to get the attraction of other people. She wanted to show that I belong to a social class, an upper social class. She started speaking French as it was taught in the school of Stratford and Beauvais. Okay, let us speak. But this is the situation. England, conquest of England by William, Duke of Normandy, 1. Second, subjection of English. Third, English became the language of the upper classes. Fourth, English remained as the language of communication of the masses. 5, speaking French was a mark of social respect. Suppose this situation had continued, we would be now learning French literature instead of English literature. There should be MA in French instead of MA in English. But of course, there were many historical reasons that happened after some time, and then English was re-established. So that's a topic itself, re-establishment of English. Wait for that. Till then, bye.